Hello everyone and welcome back. So yesterday we got the release of Operation Commanding Force, and as well as that we got the Commanding Force Battle Pass. And of course the Battle Pass actually continues the lore from the cinematic that we got at the beginning of the season, where we actually seen Viperstrike trying to attack Deimos, after Deimos does eliminate Harry, the leader of Team Rainbow. However, before we do continue with this video, I do ask, if you are new and do going to enjoy, consider subscribing, as we are on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and all your support means the world to me. But without further ado, let's get into this. So to start off this lore of the Battle Pass, we have this little bit under the story section titled First Blood. I believe this is written from the perspective of Brava, who is the brand new operator and the newest member of the Viperstrike squad, and it says the following: "There's no other way to say this. Deimos got the better of Viperstrike. He got the better of me. I'm not sure any of us have ever faced an enemy of his caliber, one who seems to know our every move before we make it. As long as he's out there, people will die. Deimos set his sights on Rainbow, killing one, injuring many. Of course, the one he killed being Harry, and the ones he injured was Thermite, Ash, Zofia, Sledge, and Kavera. If I had stuck to the mission, Capitao would have been gone too. We have to remain vigilant, or this could be the end of Rainbow. Deimos has mercenaries, vehicles, artillery, and financing. This is not a one-man operation. Someone knows something. A weakness we can exploit, an asset we can destroy, a plane we can prepare for. We just need to find one thing, and we can win. I won't rest until he's brought to justice. None of us will." And so that is the story after the Viperstrike animation, where we do see Brava, Capitao, and the leader of Viperstrike, Hibana, attempting to take out Deimos on his cargo plane. And although they didn't take out Deimos, they did financially hurt him by destroying his supplies that were on the plane, such as money and gold bars. And now this lore continues when we actually look at the description of the Viperstrike items that are in the Battle Pass. The first one we have here is the uniform for Azami, and it's actually Azami herself talking about Yahata, and this is the first time we've heard her talk about him ever since his death. And of course we have learned now that Deimos is the reason for Yahata's assassination. And what she actually says is, "Yahata told me he didn't want to be seen as a snake. Ironic that I have to become one to avenge his death." Of course, because Azami is part of Viperstrike, Viperstrike has a snake as its icon, and of course she sees that as ironic. Now the next one is Azami's headgear, and it actually is from Brava talking to Azami, and what she says is, "If we are going to take him down, we should do it by the book. This is not the time for vigilante justice, Azami." It's always interesting to see the new operator interacting with previous operators. I just find that a really nice addition. But it's also cool to learn that Azami really wants revenge, even to the point that she might even do like a vigilante stunt. But the same way that Deimos took Harry from the operators, he took Yahata from Azami. The final piece on Azami we have is on her weapon skin, and it is once again her speaking, and what she says is, "I was promised vengeance. When the time comes, I won't hesitate to take the shot." This just once again highlights the fact that Azami is here for vengeance, and nothing is going to stop her from doing that. And the way that Brava hesitated to shoot Deimos because she was saving Capitao, Azami wouldn't hesitate and would have taken the shot at any given opportunity. Next one we have here is for the headgear for Hibana, and we have a little bit from Brava talking about Hibana, and she says, "Hibana is a leader who focuses on what can be done, not on who to blame. How does she stay so calm with everything going on?" This just gives us an insight on how Hibana leads the Viperstrike squad, similar to how last season we got little bits from Solace talking about how Kavera runs the squad. So it seems like Hibana is a calm leader and focuses on the goal and not who to blame. Next one we have here is for Hibana once again. It's for a uniform, and it's Hibana speaking this time, and she says, "Gear for any opportunity, ground, air, or sea. Wherever Deimos surfaces next, we will be ready." Highlighting the fact that they are preparing for the next time they are going to face off with Deimos. I'm sure we will see more of this in the Commanding Force comic when it does come out later this season. But she does talk about they'll be prepared for ground, air, or sea. We actually already seen air when they were attacking his cargo ship. But I do find sea very important because there is an operator, a certain nighthaven operator, who specializes at combat on the sea, and that is of course Wamai. I just think there's a lot of reasons for Team Rainbow and Nighthaven to start working together again, and based off the key art for this year where we do see Kali with the squad leaders, I do think Nighthaven and Team Rainbow are going to start working together again. And I have a really good theory video coming out soon as well, so stay tuned for that one. So yeah, really interesting to see that Viperstrike are still persistent on taking down Deimos. Next one we actually have is a charm, but what we actually get in the little description for this is Jager speaking, and he's actually talking about Mira. He says, "Mira pretends she's tired of seeing me in the workshop, yet she keeps asking me to review these prototypes. I think she misses the camaraderie." It's actually really nice to hear something from Jager. We don't actually see much of him in the lore despite of how popular a character he actually is. We do know that he's actually quite good friends with the new operator Brava. They did strike up a friendship, as we learn in her bio. This also gives us a little insight into the relationship between Mira and Jager as well, because although she does say that she's tired of seeing him around the workshop, she does also keep inviting him to look at the prototypes. It just gives us a nice little insight into the friendship between the two operators. And what this cartridge actually is, I'm not 100% sure. lore. And on the topic of Mira, we actually have one for a headgear. It's actually Hibana talking to Mira, and she says, "It's time to get out of the lab, Mira. The squad needs you. I need you." Of course, referring to getting out of the lab, Mira is the director of R&D. In the lore, for the most part, we don't actually see her fighting much. Yes, she was in some of the cinematics, but for the most part, she is actually in the lab, designing and building gadgets for new operators. However, it does seem like Hibana needs all hands on deck, and she needs Mira. Just goes to show that she is as desirable in combat as she is in the lab. Next one is actually Mira once again, talking about herself, and she says, "Different color, same outfit. Some variables are better left alone to make space for what needs to change." So although this is kind of an on-the-nose way of talking about recolor uniforms, it does say that this new Viperstrike uniform that Mira is going to be wearing is pretty much just a recolor of her old gear, since the gear is perfectly fine. Why change which is not broken? And for Mira, she sees that some stuff is left alone to make space for what needs to change. It's a pretty good justification if I'm going to be honest. Next up we have the attachment skin for Hibana's weapon, and it simply is just a little quote saying, "Breathe in, breathe out, focus on the target." And although it's only a small little quote, it does relate to Hibana's background of archery, as you can also see in her elite skin. Next up we have the weapon skin for the Bearing 9, and it's actually Capitao talking about that little operation they had on the plane, which we've seen in the cinematic. And he says, "Hibana pushed for this operation. Without her, we wouldn't have been on that plane, and the money would still be in Deimos' hands." So it's the Capitao basically giving Hibana the credit for that mission, and honestly, if it wasn't her call as a leader to do that operation, Deimos would still have all that money in his hands. They were really nailing in the fact that them actually hurting him financially was actually quite a big thing. And until we actually learn more about Deimos and how much money he's actually got behind him, we can see this as quite a big win. Next up we have Hibana with just another little quote as well, saying, "The Viper's strike is fast and deadly. Admirable qualities." And it's a little origami of a snake. I assume Hibana made this, and that just kind of gives the reason behind the name Viperstrike. Because, just like a viper, they are fast and deadly. Now the last one we have here has got to be one of my favourite, and it's actually from Maestro talking about Deimos, and he said, "Deimos made it personal when he hurt Seamus." Seamus, of course, being Sledge, who got hurt in the cinematic. And we do know in Maestro's lore that him and Sledge are actually really good friends, to the point where Maestro has actually invited Sledge over to meet his family. Continuing on, he says, "Hibana, let's put this fucker in the ground. I'll be waiting for your signal." So hearing Maestro drop the F-bomb to actually just say, "Let's kill Deimos and put this guy in the ground," is really cool to see. It's really nice to see how much he really does actually care about Sledge as well. And they're actually developing Deimos as a really strong villain, to the point where the reason why operators want to take them out isn't just because it's their job, but the fact that there is personal ties between these operators, and he's hurt these operators personally. The relationship between the operators are the strongest part in the lore, and that is what he is exploiting. And I think that's a really good basis for a villain, and I cannot wait to see where they take him as a character. And so guys, as far as I'm aware, that is all the items in the Battle Pass which have a description related to the lore. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these descriptions and where you think the lore is going to take us next. I thought these were absolutely sick, and I cannot wait to learn more. So guys, if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to drop this video a like and consider subscribing for more content like this. As always, be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I shall catch you all later. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.